Times Radio Breakfast.
Data from the HM Courts and Tribunals Service shows a big rise in divorce applications after last week's introduction of no-fault divorces. The data shows around 3,000 requests have been made since the change. That's a rise of 50%. Anne Leiper joins us, the director and co-founder of Leiper Gupta Family Lawyers. Good morning, Anne.
Good morning.
Are you personally dealing with an increase in divorce applications?
Yes, I think people have waited. It's a temporary spike, in my view, because many people have waited for this change in the law for a long time. Resolution, our family law organisation, campaigned for it for many years. And then when it was supposed to be introduced, it got delayed by COVID and it got delayed by Brexit. So I think it's very understandable that people who have waited have issued at the first opportunity to have their petition issued, and they've deliberately waited because they've wanted the no-fault divorce system. So I think it explains the spike. I don't think it'll be a permanent spike. I think once these people who have waited have issued, I think you'll go back down to your more normal levels of issue, which, as you say, are about 50% of the 3,000 petitions that have been issued since the 6th of April.
Understood. I suppose then, if it is a temporary spike, can we assess whether couples who want to divorce, whether they are kind of welcoming this new ability, I suppose, this new way to divorce, which is basically to say your marriage has broken down and that's it. That's as much as detail as you need to give.
As you say, it is a big change in the law. It's a seismic change in that previously fault had to be alleged, and people don't always want to do that. People want to have a respectful divorce. They want what can be called as a good divorce, and therefore have deliberately chosen to wait. But it's not a system of making it a quickie online divorce to make divorce easier, as some people see. There is it's a minimum 26-week period. And there's a 20-week cooling off period for people so that they can have a period of reflection. They can consider reconciliation. And of course, divorce is still a very big decision because it throws up all those issues in relation to arrangements for your children, financial arrangements. And you still can't apply for a divorce until you've been married for 12 months additionally. So it's not an issue, which some criticism has been made of it, that it's making the divorce too easy. But I think the purpose of it that's not the purpose of it or the ethos behind the legislation. The purpose of it is to make it more respectful and hopefully be able to deal with the other issues going on down the line in a less antagonistic manner.
I suppose one interesting element to consider here as well is whether we're seeing a change in the number of divorces that are joint applications for divorce on a joint basis. So rather than a sole basis by one individual in a couple. Are you noticing any differences there?
Indeed, as you say, under the new law, you can jointly apply, which again is part of the ethos of this whole premise. At the moment, I don't know the statistics for whether they haven't analysed the statistics as to whether they're sole applications or joint, but there will surely be joint applications made by people, as that's the way that they want to progress with the separation and the breakdown of their relationship, and shows their attitude towards how they'll deal with finances and their arrangements for their children.
Yeah, okay. So this is about couples that have been contemplating making this move towards divorce, choosing to wait till the new system. You mentioned the phrase "a good divorce." I mean, does this allow for good divorces? Is there any such thing?
There can be. The situation is, of course, it makes it less emotive for people. It stops that position of having to put blame from one party against the other. It does not mean that people still won't commit to trying to work at their marriage, but at the same time, if unfortunately that has broken down, then they can also work together to assist in having the breakdown that is as pain-free as it can be for people and leads them onto a new path without that blame having to be alleged one against the other. It sets a different ethos from the beginning of starting the process.
Yeah, that's so interesting. I suppose there's always a kind of post-divorce element to consider as well, especially with this new law. My mind wonders if a quick divorce, so it's the wrong phrase, isn't it? But a kind of more straightforward, less acrimonious divorce in this way could still actually come with some trauma for those involved, because things are over so quickly in some ways.
Well, the process, as I say, it is a minimum of 6 months.
Yeah.
It is a minimum of 6 months with that 20-week build-in period. And you can't start the process until you have been married for a year. So it isn't a situation where you can get married one day and divorced another. And I think the whole process is designed to also think about those longer-term periods, particularly if you're parents. There are still events like graduations, weddings, all of these things, and hopefully without having to make these allegations, that makes all that long-term process easier and also less damaged and easier to deal with, so that these relationships can continue.
Are the T's and C's still the same, if you like, Anne? So I suppose the famous one is, having everything between a couple. Is that still the same in this sort of no-fault law?
What do you mean, having everything between the couple?
As in giving half each, having everything between two. Is there still room for manoeuvre and discussion in terms of how the kind of divorce settlement is reached?
This law has not changed the circumstances that deal with any financial arrangements or children arrangements. Those laws remain the same and they haven't changed. So the starting points remain the same. In relation to the finances, the starting points of the 50-50, and then you've got the criteria that can affect and adjust that. And as far as children arrangements are concerned, the criteria and the priority is, of course, the welfare of the children is the first priority. So that part of the law has not changed and not been affected by this introduction of the Divorce, Dissolution and Separation Act.
Understood. Anne, thank you so much. Thanks for the insight and for your clarity as well. I appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thanks very much. Anne Leiper, their director and co-founder of Leiper Gupta Family Lawyers.